All right, so there's two things I kind of want to set up. One, Josh, I think we're going to open with your Between Two Worlds thing before we get into the movie stuff.
Okay.
But I'm going to try to set up that we have this intro. I don't know, Andy and Mike, do you guys want to hear this intro that Josh made so you have an idea what we're referring to? If you would like to comment on it.
Okay. I suppose that I don't know. Do I want to go in cold on this? Is this something?
Well, the thing is, I'm gonna put in the intro in post, so I'm gonna reference this introduction. I'm gonna give Josh a chance to talk about it if he wants to.
Yeah, it's just like the spoiler warning. Like, he just mentions it, but it gets added in later, so you wouldn't actually hear it.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, I probably should because I don't know what it is.
It's ditto.
All right, we'll see if this works. I tried to send the file through the Skype chat, so see if you can get it and listen to it.
I will attempt to.
It's real short. It's like 10, 15 seconds or so.
Yeah.
Andy, did you grab it?
Listening to it now.
Okay. Josh, you can get live reactions on what people think of your theme song.
Right. Although I can't actually hear them, listening to it. I can only watch them listening to it.
What's the accent, man?
Were you going for George Harrison on that? I'm just wondering.
No, I don't have a good singing voice at all, but I can kind of mask that fact if I sing in an accent a little bit. You can't tell me I'm wrong on that.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Brian Guy and His Super Friends. I'm your host, Brian Labick. Joining me for this episode is Andy Stoles.
Hello, podcast people.
Mike Bradley.
Howdy.
And Josh George.
Hello, my name is Josh. I am sort of a co-host here.
Wait, are you doing is this your Korg impression?
I think I'm getting warmed up, but we're gonna try it.
He told me beforehand we were texting about Korg jokes and stuff, and at some point he talked about how that voice was just coming through when he talks now in everyday life. So we suggested trying to do it for the podcast. We'll see how long he can keep it up. All right, so as promised, we talked about this last week. For this episode, we'll be discussing the latest MCU movie, which is Thor Ragnarok. But before we jump into the movie, if you're a frequent listener to the show, you'll know that one of the things we like to do from time to time that Josh has been compiling, he's had information on actors and actresses that have been appearing in multiple comic book movies. So we've been calling this Between Two Worlds every now and again. So whenever it sort of applies to what we're talking about, Josh consults his list and throws out some names and tries to start a discussion with whoever crosses over between these properties. I'm pretty sure he said he has at least 3 names for this movie. So we'll see. I couldn't think of... I thought of one after the fact, but I can't think of the other 2, so we'll see what he's got. One thing we want to sort of set up that we finally have an intro song for this segment that Josh has been secretly working on. Josh, do you want to set this up at all? Is there anything we should know before we play this for everybody?
This is not possible without a collaboration and contribution from infrequent but very missed co-host Chris Oliver. So thanks to him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was going to shout out to Chris. Yeah, he's been on a few episodes. Check the back catalog. It's he's out there somewhere. It has been a while though. All right, so we're gonna cue the music. See what you think.
Well, you know their face, but maybe not their name. This mystery we will unfold. We'll find out everywhere they have been. Oh, they walk between two worlds.
All right, so I hope you liked that as much as I did. I think it's fantastic. You'll be hearing it more often whenever we do this segment again. So, Josh, hit us with what you got.
Okay, so after really reviewing the list, I have discovered that just connected to the Thor franchises now, we actually have 5 people.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Why can't I think of any of these people? I feel like they should be glaringly obvious, and I can't.
As soon as I say them, you're gonna face palm yourself. So let's go back.
Wait.
Go
Before
ahead.
you do it, does anybody want to guess who we think has been in multiple comic book movies that are in Thor
I have
as
one.
different roles?
Carl Urban was Dredd.
I
that on your-
considered that, but I narrow my analysis to mainstream Marvel or DC universes pretty much. Now they could be they could be used by different studios, but it's pretty much like the MCU, the world of main DC, or Fox with like X-Men, Fantastic Four, that kind of stuff. But excellent pull, sir.
Yes. Because I'm just the ones that should be obvious, like you're saying. I don't know.
Yeah.
The only one I had was, and it's a new addition to the list, is Zach Levi, who is now Shazam, and is Fandral in the Thor movies. Well,
Okay.
2 of the Thor movies.
Yes.
That is correct. He's not even the newest edition, because he did appear in Thor 2. Well, I guess he'd be the newest edition because he's now the newest one to finally cross
For
over.
DC.
Yeah,
right.
that's true. So he's the most recent. But
But
so,
4 other ones, for whatever, I cannot think of any more.
So
Yeah.
let's start back at the very first Thor movie. And
So
go ahead.
So can you mention actors that are in 2 different Marvel movies?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
If they're playing different roles.
Yes, I
Yeah,
can.
different
Right,
roles.
because the one guy with the axe, can't remember his name, also plays the Punisher in the Punisher Warzone.
That is number 1. Congratulations,
Oh, Ray
Andy.
Stevenson.
Yes.
Yes, Ray Stevenson
Good pull.
appeared in Punisher Warzone in 2008, playing Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, and then appears in the Thor trilogy, playing Volstagg.
I didn't realize it was the same guy.
It is, yeah. When he has all the makeup and the beard and everything, he has it's like the Gimli effect. You don't
Right, yeah.
recognize the person underneath at all.
And it's also the attitude. Because Volstagg and Punisher are so polar opposite, it draws away. Like, he's never scowling like he is as Punisher.
True.
Volstagg is always smiling.
This is quite true. So, yeah, that is number 1. Andy's got a point. Who's gonna take the next round? Still think about somebody who has been in the whole trilogy and who has been there since Thor 1. There's one more.
I mean,
I'm still drawing blanks.
I'm going to say no one has it. So it is actually, and this is maybe the most unique one I've seen so far, Idris Elba. Idris Elba played Moreau in Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance.
Oh, son of a bitch.
And that...
I've only seen that movie a half a times.
Yeah.
Those Ghost Rider movies are so forgettable.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've seen that a total of 1/2. So, okay.
And I think, I could be wrong, but I think that and the first Thor were actually released in the same year. Spirit of Vengeance might have actually been 2012 once it finally got wide release, but they were either both in 2011, or the first Thor was 2011, and then Spirit of Vengeance was finally released in 2012. But they were pretty much nearly back to back.
Yeah.
So yep, those are the first 2 from there. The second one appeared in The Dark World. Now this one is completely forgivable for anybody, because in both roles, this person is in head to toe makeup. You never see their face. You wouldn't even probably know it was them if you even recognize them to begin with.
I know who you're referring to. I don't know the dude's actual name.
Is it going to be the guy that plays Curse?
That's what I was thinking.
I don't know the actor's name, but I remember him from Lost as Mr. Echo, but I can't think of what he is outside of Thor.
Round 2 or 3, wherever we're at, goes to Brian. That is correct. Yeah, his name is like Adewale Kanawa Agbadje. And that is terrible because I should have a better understanding of how to pronounce like very African names, but I don't. And yes, he played Curse in Thor: The Dark World, and then who else did he play?
That's what I can't figure out.
Killer Croc in
Suicide Squad.
Oh, good
So
pull.
Andy splits the round.
Nice.
The last.
I like this one. We have to guess. This is a fun little game.
Well, it's also fun when there's like more than one to talk about at a time.
Yeah.
So we mentioned Zachary Levi. Yes, in Dark World and Ragnarok, he took over the role of Fandral from that other guy who was on Once Upon a Time. That's why he couldn't reprise the role.
Okay.
And he'll now play Shazam in the DC universe. So the last entry, actually, this one is a threefer. This person enters this crossing from Marvel to DC with Thor Ragnarok, but they previously already had a Marvel and DC TV crossover.
What?
Yeah, you're never gonna guess this.
Do we get a hint?
I don't know if there is a way to hint it.
Okay.
Well, not that it would like completely give it away. It's just it's kind of obscure a little bit.
All right. Well, I got no guesses. So if anybody else got any guesses?
I'm gonna take that as
Nope.
a no.
Nope, no guesses there.
All right. So the actor Clancy Brown appeared in the second season of Daredevil on Netflix as Colonel Ray Schoonover. He was Frank Castle's army superior officer guy. And then previous to this, he actually, so far, I think he only appeared in one, maybe two episodes of The Flash on the CW.
Yes.
As General Wade
Another
Eiling.
general.
Yes. And
then he was the voice of Surtur.
He's the voice
Thor
of
3.
Surtur. Yes, he is.
Oh, man. Okay.
So, those are your 5 rounds of walking between two worlds, all connected to just Thor.
Nice.
Most of them don't have that many commonalities. There's a couple that kind of dip into one or two of the same movies, but yeah, I was actually surprised myself as I was getting this ready.
Yeah, there's a lot more in there than I thought.
I'm looking forward to the Infinity War version of this.
We could have an whole episode just like that.
39 crossovers now.
Yeah.
Yeah, have fun with that list, Josh.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, just because, yeah, like that, if it's all within the MCU, you know, just because like the Guardians appear in a movie with Iron Man now in Infinity War, yeah, that's not what we're. But yeah, it's.
I'm just saying
that
you're going to have pretty much every MCU movie's major characters combined into a single movie to cover crossovers on.
It will be infinitely more complex.
Oh.
All right, thank you. Good night, everybody.
Josh really threw down the gauntlet there.
And he just got one-upped.
Oh, yeah, he did. He really won that war.
The timing was... Oh, it's still going. We're not done. Come on, Andy, avenge yourself.
Oh!
All right, let's move on before we just get stuck in puns for the next hour. All right, so getting around to Thor. Typically, when we try to do reviews, what I like to do is try to talk general spoiler-free thoughts just for, you know, people that listen that haven't actually got around to seeing the movie. They just still want to hear what we thought, even though they haven't seen it yet. So after that, once we get through the general spoiler-free stuff, we'll jump into spoilers. There will be a spoiler warning for that whenever we get to that point. So, general spoiler-free impressions. Where do you guys want to start? What do you think of the movie?
I was excited for it, and it didn't let me down. Very fun movie to watch. I feel like they put more thought into each scene here than perhaps in the previous two Thor movies.
Okay.
I didn't really feel like there was much that they did that was wasted or that was without a purpose.
Agreed.
Okay.
And as we all know, previous Thor movies, sometimes it kind of felt a little strange at points, like why are they doing this, and you never really get a reason for it. Why would they choose to have I can't remember his character's name, but running around in his underpants? Like, well, what was the purpose behind that?
Oh, the scientist guy?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay,
Selvig.
yeah.
Yeah, Selvig, that's it. There was a lot of things in those previous two movies that just didn't make much sense. But this felt like it had a proper climax to the movie. It had fun side characters that even themselves, in most cases, had unique stories that you got to learn a bit about the characters. And from just the bits they gave you to learn about them, you felt some connection to those characters, which is something more than I could say for previous Thor movies. Because the last two Thor movies, I didn't even give a shit about Jane. Like, you just didn't care for the character. They didn't present that to you. So I feel like all around they did a much better job.
Okay. Andy, you want to chime in?
I agree. It was a very fun movie to watch. It had an air of Guardians of the Galaxy, like in terms of style to it, which I think really matched well with how they tried to do the screenplay. I thought the music was really good. The casting was, I think, pretty spot on.
Yeah, I think everybody did a really good job.
Yeah.
Anything else?
And it was funny. I mean, the other Thor movies were funny, but not like goofy funny like this one was, which made it a lot more enjoyable, I thought.
I think they found a better foundation for these actors to bring these characters forward with the approach and the type of humor that they went for this time. Like the first two had moments of levity, but I think the reason I found them so unappealing and unengaging was that I don't know, like, other than maybe Thor to some extent and Loki definitely, I didn't really get a sense that, like, of what the character really was. Like, I don't know, I felt like I always watched them say words, do things, go places, but I don't now that I have this contrast, it felt more like I was watching all the actors execute scenes and say lines, whereas this just felt like this was one of the first times that I saw Chris Hemsworth kind of disappear a little bit, which is ironic because like once they cut his hair, you see more of the traditional Chris Hemsworth. But like I saw him disappear more. I saw Thor finally, and I saw, well, again, like, we didn't have like a Jane Foster, but like all the other characters, it was easy to look past them and just see the world. I bought the character, I bought the world. It was like effortless.
Yeah, I think even just going in, like, the trailers, you can tell the change in tone just from the trailers. Like, it's going to be funnier. It's a lot more colorful than any other Thor movie they've done.
Yeah.
They took a lot of pages from Guardians of the Galaxy in that respect. And sort of what you're saying, I kind of thought, like, going into this, maybe it would be too jokey, like too many jokes per minute type of thing that would sort of distract from the plot and make Thor out to be a comedian, and then it takes away from what we've known of Thor for 5 or 6 movies, whatever he's been in so far. And they do make him funny. Like, he gets some good jokes and some physical humor and stuff like that, but even some of the quiet moments with Thor, like, I don't think they ever lose what that character is and what that character should be, which surprised me, and I like that.
Yeah. Can I ask you guys, did anybody watch, like, all the trailers they put out and several of the TV spots? Because I didn't see anything except the very first full-length trailer. Just the very first one where you got, like, the reveal of the Hulk busting through the wall, and, Thor says he's a friend from work line. Because after that, I didn't see any of it. And so did the other advertisements, did the other promos really try to keep selling more and more scenes of like the comedic moments? And so therefore, like, what going in with that impression, did that like hurt anything for you guys?
I think I watched the first 2 trailers. I think that was as far as I got. I was trying to avoid commercials and all the other stuff, but they were hard because they marketed this movie everywhere.
Oh, did they?
But commercial-wise, I don't think I remember seeing new scenes. It was a lot of, like, just cut up portions of the Hulk and Thor fight. Like, that seemed to be what they were really pushing to me. But nothing stood out to me as far as, like, telling a lot of the jokes or spoiling a lot of those fun moments that I can remember. I don't know if Mike or Andy, if you guys have seen anything else.
I just remember the first one. That's all I really remember watching.
Okay.
I think we covered both the trailers on here. Like the first
I'm pretty sure we did.
Here,
yeah.
But that's all the more research I did on any sort of preview for it.
Okay.
That's good. I don't know. Did you guys enjoy that? I think that was for movies that rely heavily on specific moments for like really good joke delivery or whatever. I think not having seen much of it was good, because the more you see, the more they try to diversify what they are putting out. So eventually, if you see like all 3 trailers plus a bunch of TV spots, you're gonna see a bunch of it. You're gonna, I don't know. I kind of went in, I think, very cold, other than that first trailer,
right,
as to understanding is what they are showing me right now the extent of the, you know, joke horizon that they're going to go down, or is there a lot more to it or whatnot? And I think if I had seen a bunch more, I wouldn't have had like all those pleasant surprises every step of the way.
Yeah. And I was trying to think about it. I do think, like, as much as this movie is funny, I think there are less like jokes per minute than a Guardians movie. I think Guardians tries to fit more jokes in there, but I felt like, just in my viewing of it, I felt like I had more laugh out loud moments with this movie than a Guardians movie.
Okay.
So I think that I feel like the jokes hit better for me. I don't know, but I guess that's just my opinion for it.
I wouldn't disagree with that, in the sense that a lot of the jokes they told here were smarter jokes. They weren't necessarily the dumbed down version. Like, I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy, you can get the jokes are more elementary. They're simpler, you know.
Okay.
Okay.
Like even Drax, you know, explaining the joke after he's told it, you know, like,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Where here, you know, the banter back and forth between the Hulk and Thor, it's really not really meant always to be funny, the things they're saying. You know what I mean? But it is funny. It's meant to be funny, but it's not. The characters aren't openly telling a joke or making a joke.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, did you guys think, let me just ask, did you guys think the movie was too funny, or do you think it was funny enough, like you're okay with, like, because the fact that they switched the tone, we have to decide if that tone worked for the movie, if that made it better for a viewing.
I think hands down it was an improvement.
Okay.
yeah, I was going to say, if we're saying better than the other 2 Thor movies, yes, by far.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think what made it more funny than the Guardians is that we didn't expect it to be like the jokes to land quite as well as they did, you know, because we're used to Thor 1 and Dark World. I mean, a lot of misses there.
Well, even the other Thor movies, even Dark World, Dark World has some pretty good jokes in there too that I felt like, but this one is definitely like stepped up to 11. Like they definitely leaned hard into the comedic side of it.
Yeah, and none of them seem forced. There was only one. I can think of definitely one spot, but maybe no more than one additional, where it was obvious that they were like setting up a punchline or setting up a punchline moment. Everything else was just very naturally done by the speech patterns of the actors or the words themselves, their mannerisms, their reactions. It did not seem like, it barely seemed like they were making a comedy. It felt very easily that we were just watching funny things happen while people were doing and saying them.
Yeah. I don't know. Anything else we want to touch on generally, or do we just want to jump into specifics and go from there?
I'll say that someone mentioned the music before, I think, or maybe a comparison to Guardians in one degree. I was happy that other than like the main title song, the immigrant song that was very prominent in the trailers, does get used again in the actual film. And I
like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, and I will say I think it was used effectively. I'll say I don't think it was overkill, but I'm glad they didn't go for that the whole movie. They did not try to embrace again like a Guardian-esque
space opera.
Yes, exactly. Space opera with tons of pop songs in it again. Like I feel like they realized that was effective for the context of Guardians, and especially like bringing it forward from the very beginning with Peter Quill's character. So contextually, it made sense. And I'm glad that, maybe they resisted somebody's urge at some point. I'm sure somebody thought that it would be a great idea to do that again with Thor, especially after using that song for the trailer. But I'm glad that they showed self-control and didn't do that. I think if they had, it would have been a terrible move.
Yeah. I agree. Actually, one thing I'm going to talk, we'll sort of talk about maybe before we get into spoilers, because it's not spoiling anything because it's in the trailers, but Hulk speaking. How do you guys feel about Hulk being able to talk? Because I was actually talking to a couple people that I work with that had seen the movie, and the 2 people that I know that saw it, both of them are saying they didn't like that part. Like that was a hang up for people, or at least those 2 people I talked to. That Hulk talking was like, no, I don't like that. It deducts points from the movie for me.
Well, I mean,
Hulk
that's canon in the comics. I mean, he eventually does talk. So.
Right, yeah, I didn't have any issue with it, so I didn't know if I was in the minority or if
He actually ends up being, like, fairly intelligent.
Yeah.
Like you can almost, like, get a Bruce Banner type conversation from him in the comics, I believe.
Eventually, yeah. He in certain, because even with the comics, there's so many different storylines.
Right.
But in certain storylines, he manages to push out the beast from his brain, but keep the beast in his body. And that's always the way I looked at it. But he does become fairly intelligent even when he's the Hulk in the comics, because he gets stuck as the Hulk and can't get back at times. But he's always, I can't say exactly when in the comics Hulk started forming complete sentences, but
because what it actually reminded me of, like, I don't know if anyone has watched, at one point it was on Netflix, and I don't know if it's still there, but they had a couple Avengers cartoons. There was like Avengers Assemble, I think, that I think came out like after the Avengers movie, so they had like the Avengers cast together in the show: Hawkeye, Black Widow, Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America, all that stuff. And the Hulk version that they had in the cartoon was basically, I feel like, the one you see in the movie, where he is Hulk, but his speech is just like a child. He says small sentences, few words here and there. You get the gist of what he's saying, but it's not very intelligent.
Right.
Yeah. But how ridiculous would it have been to have him only limited to the extent of verbal communication that he did in the first 2 Avengers movies, with as much screen time as he needed to have,
right,
and interact in like complex ways with multiple characters? They're really going to rely in the first Avengers movie, he literally says 2 words: puny god. I think that's all he ever actually articulates. Yeah. And he might
get some grunts.
Well, that's right. And then even in like Age of Ultron, I don't know if I can easily think of like I can't even think of a specific line, but I'm sure he maybe had like a small phrase as Hulk that he says once, if that. And that's the thing. Like, yeah, it's all very right. It's grunts and reactions and guttural noises. Like, as much screen time as he had, come on, that would have been absolutely stupid.
Well, it's a different thing for the Hulk to do in this movie, because every other movie he's in, he just shows up to smash things and break things and fight things, fight something.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, this one, he's Hulk just hanging out, sitting
Yeah,
around.
Yeah,
So you can't have him just grunting at everybody.
Usually, like, hanging out for the Hulk means that he's Bruce Banner. So this is the first time that the Hulk actually gets a little bit of downtime.
Yeah.
And they explain it very well that since the events of Age of Ultron, he has not regressed to Bruce Banner. So he has been in the form of the Hulk for, they say, a time period of 2 years. It's absolutely believable that a being would, even maybe at a slower pace, but develop broader speech patterns over a period of time, the more they are, confined to that form. So I thought it was a fine explanation. I bought it. It didn't seem out of place.
Okay.
Like
I said, I went talking to other people. I started feeling I was in the minority, but I was completely cool with what they did.
I would like them to the people that think that, I would like them to recut the movie, taking out all of Hulk's dialogue and replacing it with, "Oh, me Hulk," and see how enjoyable that is.
Well, I think part of the things they said, both of them, I feel like, said different variations of this. Is like they wanted Hulk to be, or they like their Hulk to be a little bit darker and grittier. And they kept referring to, like, the Edward Norton movie. And I'm thinking, like, this isn't the type of movie that Marvel is making now. These are for kids. They're really marketing them for kids. So you're not probably ever going to see that version of the Hulk again.
No, probably not. But I mean, again, the point, Hulk's arc, up until even through that point, was still Bruce Banner fighting against being Hulk.
Right.
It was a different incarnation of the being, and when the being is only manifested for short periods of time, very far apart from each other. I think the Avengers, they say that, like, it's been almost a year or more than a year since his last incident.
Right.
I assume they're referring to the events of the Incredible Hulk in that. So if it's many months, a year or more in between this thing existing, of course it's going to act differently. It's going to think differently. It doesn't exist for very long each time. So I think it was very a natural progression.
Yeah. Okay. So we're all on the same page. That's good. It makes me feel better.
Yeah, we're right.
All right, anything else? Last thoughts for general impressions or anything? I think generally it seems like we all like this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You hesitated, Andy. I'm not sure. If you want to get into specifics, we'll get into the specifics. Okay.
Let's dive in.
All right, so 3 of the 4 of us are on board with this movie. Andy, we're not sure about. We'll figure out in the spoilers. So if you want to listen on and see what Andy thinks.
I am very, very sure that I very much enjoyed this movie.
Okay. 4 for 4. All 4 of us enjoyed this movie. So if you haven't seen Thor, go out and check it out now. We're going to get into spoilers. After you see the movie, you can come back and listen to what we're getting into. If you haven't seen it yet, pause us. Come back after you've seen the movie. Final warning, spoilers are ahead.
Wee-oo, spoiler! Wee-oo, spoiler! Something like that.
All right, so we are into spoiler territory. Where would you guys like to start with specifics?
One, to me, the biggest question that I have from this whole movie for the MCU is, as a whole, it is when Asgard blows up.
Okay.
2 big questions. Just before that, Loki's going down to put Surtur's helmet in the Eternal Flame.
Yep.
Yes, he takes the Tesseract.
So, right. 1, he takes the Tesseract. Okay. 2, is the Eternal Flame an Infinity Stone? And 3, why on earth would Odin keep in his vault a fake Infinity Gauntlet?
So I think, so number 1, the Tesseract, I think either Loki definitely has it, because why not take it again?
He definitely has it.
I think he definitely has it, because I'm pretty sure that's Thanos' ship coming to find Loki because he knows he has the Tesseract.
That is correct.
At the end.
Sure. Or, eventually, through the course of Infinity War, Thanos has to obtain it.
Yes.
Right?
Well, here's the thing, Josh. I don't know if you... Let me stop you real quick.
Yeah.
Did you... The leaked Avengers 4 trailer that they had showed at D23 and then San Diego Comic-Con that was put online after the fact.
Yeah.
Did you watch that when it was out?
I did, but I think only once, and it was like the very, shaky handheld kind of version.
Yeah, the
of
quality
it because,
wasn't good.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, the through the events of the first movie, Infinity War, I'm assuming will be most of the battle and journey of Thanos obtaining all the stones.
Well, there was definitely a shot in that quick little trailer they put out of Loki handing the Tesseract to Thanos.
Oh, so he's a dick.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's Loki. Like, they've established Loki will do anything to save his ass. If Thanos knows he has the cube, and Loki thinks he's going to live if he gives him the cube, that's what he's going to do. Regardless of what repercussions that has, that's what he will do.
Now, the other possibility that I thought of was obvious, again, since it's self-defining that Thanos has to obtain it eventually, is that even if Loki doesn't have it at the moment, that it obviously survives the destruction of Asgard, which, as an Infinity Stone, I would not be surprised that it could do. So maybe he does or doesn't have it already, but, he obtains it, Loki obtains it at some point to then hand off to Thanos, but you guys are under you're in the camp of he already has it?
Oh yeah, when he gives that little sideways glance to it when he's taking Surtur's mask to the Eternal Flame, you can pretty much make the assumption that he snagged it.
And I'm pretty sure the ship that Andy referred to, I'd seen Kevin Feige in an interview confirm the name of the ship, which is the Sanctuary 2.
Mm-hmm.
The name of the ship to me means nothing, but apparently that is the ship that belongs to Thanos and the Black Order.
Mm-hmm.
So, to Andy's point, if Thanos can track these things somehow, he probably knows Loki has it, which, again, if you've watched that Avengers, that leaked trailer that they put out, the beginning of it opens with Thor floating through space and literally running into the Guardians of the Galaxy. So somehow he gets separated from the ship that he is on. So the ship that shows up at the mid-credit scene, I'm assuming goes for the Tesseract, attacks the ship, Thor gets blown out into space, separated, runs into Guardians of the Galaxy, and then you have Avengers 4. I think all the pieces are there. We just have to see it play out at this point. But to your point, I would agree that if Loki for some reason does not have the cube and Asgard goes kablooey, I would think the cube is powerful enough to survive that attack and just float through space.
Can the Infinity Stones be destroyed?
Has never happened in the Marvel comics.
I was going to say, I don't think so.
I didn't think so.
Mm-mm. Yeah, in the
they
comics,
just have to be
it's never
separated.
happened. Yeah, they're separated, guarded, all that.
Because really, if they were that much of a threat to Thanos and people figure out that he's coming, I feel like they would have tried to destroy them already. Just to prevent him from getting them. Why keep them?
Yeah, good point.
Although, I mean, in reality, well, not in reality, in the comics reality, the only character I believe that could destroy an Infinity Stone is Scarlet Witch. Not in the movies, because they didn't give her the same power set, but she could just wish them out of existence in the comics. And they would be gone. I mean, that she can do that kind of thing. So
yeah. So Mike, what are your? I think we covered your first point. What were the other two again?
Is the Eternal Flame going to be an Infinity Stone, or is the final Infinity Stone in Wakanda?
I'm going to say no to both.
Yeah, same.
No to both.
Yeah.
No to both.
I actually read a theory about that final Infinity Stone.
Okay.
I read a theory that Heimdall actually has the final Infinity Stone.
Interesting.
He's just hanging on to it to keep it from people?
Which is why he can see everything.
The Soul Stone. I might be able to buy that.
Yeah, because the one we're missing is the Soul Stone. So wherever this shows up, it has to have some sort of properties that would lend itself to be the Soul Stone.
So so your assumption is that it's going to turn up for the first time in Infinity War, then?
In my mind, that's the only logical place it's going to show up. I would have put my money on it showing up in this movie, but since I don't think it is readily apparent it is in this movie, I would think it's going to be the last one Thanos tracks down in Avengers 4 or 3 in Infinity War.
Yeah, I really expected Hela to have an Infinity Stone because she was so powerful enough to, destroy Mjolnir.
Right.
You kind of expected her to be juiced up a bit.
Okay.
Well, one other theory, too, that I had read, and actually, Josh, when I saw it the second time, I didn't pick up on it the first time, but when I saw it the second time, I went with Matt and Elena turned to me and said, "Ooh, is that an Infinity Stone?" And I was like, "Oh, you picked up on an internet theory that I didn't even think about."
Which is?
The tip of Grandmaster's staff. Whatever he uses to liquefy that guy, the end of it is orange, which is the color we're missing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, it shows no
Interesting.
properties, I feel like, of a soul stone. It doesn't, like, suck that guy's soul out. It just melts him. So,
Okay.
every
but
other
you-
stone
but you-
up to this point
Or
has
perhaps
given
that's
some
what
sort of
happens
property.
to your body when they remove your soul.
Yeah, you don't know his soul's not in that orb.
Well,
Yeah.
it could.
Huh.
That's true. I mean, they don't readily show you or tell you that it's in there, but they kept the Mind Stone in Loki's staff for
Yeah.
2 movies or 3 movies, so...
Yeah.
Did
that's
they
true.
tell us that it was going to show up in this movie, or is that all just fan theory?
No, that's
Yeah, I think we all just assumed it would.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense for a stone to show up in Black Panther.
No.
why.
Black Panther's not...
I think it would be too much of a coincidence. Like it
Well,
would
the
just
thing
seem
is, though,
too jammed in there.
Wakanda, even in the comics, is the most advanced society on the planet. And
Yeah, see, this is what we talked about before, I think, that if Wakanda's advanced technology is reliant on an Infinity Stone, it takes away from what Wakanda does as a culture. And I think it's too coincidental to have like a third Infinity Stone show up on Earth.
Which is why I was happy that it actually didn't show up in
Okay.
this movie, because we have already had 2 stones tied to Thor movies and Asgard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever the explanation they come up with, I think, yeah, that I think a lot of people are under the impression that Infinity War is going to be the search for the stones, and the follow-up the next year, rumored to be
Will be
called
the actual
Infinity
war.
Gauntlet, will be the actual fight.
Yeah.
And there might
I could see that.
might be casualties along the way in the first one, but the reveal and the revelation and the explanation as to where the last one is, maybe it's not the last one he obtains necessarily in order, but I think if you were already going into Infinity War knowing where they all are, then you're just watching the movie waiting for him to get them all, because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily have anything else to look for that's new. It's just going to be what happens along the way as Thanos gets each of these things that we already know exist and where they are and who's protecting them. You need one more thing to be looking forward that you don't know yet.
Well, do we think it's possible that Thanos already has that one, and that's why we haven't seen it?
It's possible.
Yeah, both are possible. I mean, that to me seems fair. I mean, what you're saying about Wakanda seems fair, but it's also there's some reason that their technology is so far advanced beyond the rest of the world, and
Because they're smarter than everyone.
It could be another
Well,
explanation, even
vibranium
if it's
was
not
always the
just
reason.
that, but
Yeah, I think, Vibranium will put in a lot to that too. But that's what I mean. Like, if they're over-reliance on an Infinity Stone to get them above and beyond everyone else, I feel like, again, it takes away from what that culture does and what they can do with Vibranium.
okay.
But I don't know. To me, I would be pissed if they did that. But again, that's my opinion, I guess. I would rather see the Wakandans be smart enough and scientific enough to use Vibranium the way they do to enhance their culture and lifestyle and all that stuff, as opposed to just seeping power off of an Infinity Stone to make that happen.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think it's also more exciting to be able, from a storyteller's point of view and from a writer's point of view, to be able to create and offer an explanation, and for the set designers, for the art department, to put together a whole world to explain how that came to be, other than, oh, well, they have one of those power stones.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
it would be
think
lazy
from a-
storytelling, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it's like, it's an opportunity for the creative side of people to get to work,
Okay.
Mike, what was your third point again?
Why the hell would they have
about?
a fake Infinity Gauntlet
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
in his vault? Why keep a fake one?
Presuming he doesn't know it's fake. Or there's a lot.
I feel like Odin has to know it's fake.
I was going to say it's Odin we're talking about. It's not.
As soon as I said that,
now,
I tripped over myself.
Well, granted, like, Odin might know it's fake, but that doesn't mean everybody else doesn't know it's fake.
Correct. And after all the revelations of this
but
movie,
who gets into
maybe
that
he's trying
vault?
to cover up.
That vault seems like it's extremely limited access.
Well, yeah, I guess that's just the thing. Like, if for whatever reason, someone shows up to just raid the vault, they could take everything in there and only half the stuff could be real.
Okay, so what did they accomplish by only half of it being real then?
Well, I mean, you're still not giving them everything, is sort of the way I'm seeing it.
So then you're assuming that Odin would then also have to have the actual Infinity Gauntlet. Because if you have a real one and you put a fake one in there as a decoy, that makes sense. But just to put a decoy in there makes no sense.
Well, we've seen the actual gauntlet. Thanos has the gauntlet, the real gauntlet.
Right, which is why I'm asking the question. Why have a fake
I don't know, I just feel like just is a fake out. Just to, if anybody thinks it's the real one, then they just think it's locked up, or, I don't know, word gets around that it's in...
I could see Odin producing the fake one to give a sense of security to his Asgardian realm.
Oh, yeah.
Realms.
Okay.
That, like, he can present it in front of the court and be like, look what I have. We have nothing to worry about. Thanos is not an issue. We have the gauntlet. I will place it in the most secure location that I know, the vault at Asgard.
This is also, Mike, this is also a movie that establishes Odin lies out his ass.
Yeah, I was just thinking
so,
that.
Yes, very much so.
So, yeah, there's to Andy's point, I think he would do something exactly like that.
Or, like,
just to cover his ass.
Yeah, he accidentally effed up and lost it, or had to relinquish control, etc. And to save face, why not have a convincing replica?
I did like that they at least addressed that in this movie, because
it's been lingering out there.
Since that prop has been there since Thor 1, and then we see at the end credits of Avengers 2, Thanos actually has the gauntlet, so then everyone's thinking, well, what the fuck is the one in the vault? So they establish right now that it's fake, it means nothing, it's worthless.
Pretty convenient,
right?
Huh?
And I think, I was going to say, I think that was the
It's a retcon, to be sure. Oh, yeah.
Yes. and that's fine. It's just, it's frustrating when they just are like, it's fake.
But would you rather them not address it at all, though?
I'd rather Thanos have the fake one and think he has the real one.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, I that would have been a fun twist, except, like we talked about earlier, the place that held the quote-unquote real one is now destroyed.
Well, yeah, I know that.
I don't think they can give, like, Loki walk out of the vault with arms full of crap that he just stole before everything blew
Loki.
up.
So I have a
Master of illusion.
Okay, point taken.
So I have a follow-up question to Mike's final question. How did Hela know that was a fake?
She may have helped Odin.
She was there when he lost it.
Take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a peace offering. Maybe it was, like, as they say, they were going around conquering civilizations and other realms and areas and whatnot, and maybe Thanos was poking around too, and just to basically buy him off. They're like, look, we'll give you the gauntlet. You hold on to that, assuming that it would be very impractical that he would ever get all the stones.
Okay.
Like, you stay over there, we'll stay over here.
At this point, really, they can retcon whatever they want to, if they want to go back and try to explain that.
As long as it doesn't even have to, well, it would be great if it would be ultra creative and really cool. As long as it makes sense with what they've already shown me, I'll be okay with it.
Yeah.
If it fits, that will minimally suffice.
If it fits, it ships.
Boom.
I shipped my pants yesterday.
All right. So that was where Mike wanted to start. Anybody else have anything they want to address or talk about?
I'll just get this out of the way now. When are we getting the Korg and Meek spin-off hour?
That was immediately what I walked out of this movie thinking too. I want that so bad.
If I'm sorry to say this, but if Thor is floating through space, what makes you think that Korg and Meek are going to survive the attack of Thanos?
Oh, I don't care.
That could be true too.
They could give me make a series of the one. You know how we had that idea for the Bucky and
3
Falcon?
Captain Americas and a Beetle.
Yeah, same sort of thing. Give me a small series of vignettes of Korg's time at the arena before Thor. I want to see. No, I got it. I want to see Korg's attempted rebellion with the insufficient pamphlets.
You could do another one shot of Korg meeting Doug for the first time.
Yes. And Doug is kind of like his Wilson after he dies. He's just left there in the
he's just holding the guy's head
for some reason.
Talks to Doug every now and again.
Yeah. That character and that whole interaction, him and Meek with their little friendship and running around together, oh my god, that was charming as hell.
Mm-hmm.
I said, there was a whole bunch of laugh out loud moments for me. I think every fucking one of Korg's lines had me busting out laughing.
Oh god. Oh, Meek's dead.
Yeah.
I stomped on him by accident during the battle.
And I felt so guilty about it. I've just been carrying him around ever since.
Yeah.
Oh no, look, there he is. No, he's not dead. Look at that.
Even I think Josh was saying, there's certain jokes that you could see the setup coming, but the whole thing of Asgard can be rebuilt on the foundations and then it blows up and then nope, those foundations are gone. Oh, that was great. When Loki disappears and he runs at where he was and high kicks the air, piss off, ghost. That was great.
Because he wasn't even part of that scene.
Yeah, he just runs from completely off screen.
The whole scene has come to a close. It could have just been over, but nope. Here he comes. He was right off screen. He heard commotion.
And then you see Meek run around from the other side, ready to kill somebody, swinging his swords.
Oh, so much more of that.
Yeah, and then I think I just put up a video that Hemsworth tweeted today. That was a minute-long video of Rest in Peace Mjolnir.
Mm-hmm.
And it was him reminiscing about the hammer, and it ends with the whole conversation that they have in the arena between Korg and Thor, where he's describing the hammer, and Korg's telling him "Oh, the hammer rode you.
Yeah,
you rode the hammer.
The hammer pulled you off."
Yeah, that whole thing is on there. It's so great. And then the video ends, which I think this scene had to have been cut from the movie because I don't remember it. Thor's going through weapons, picks up an actual hammer. Something you hit nails with.
Really?
Throws it, and it doesn't come back to him, and he looks so disappointed, and then it ends.
Oh, God.
This is great.
So who actually forged Mjolnir? Was it Odin?
No. Mjolnir would have been forged by the dwarves of Asgard. They work in the forges underneath Asgard, and they are the only beings in the universe capable of forging anything out of Uru.
Is that like Mithril?
Well, Uru's what the hammer's made of. They're the only ones capable of melting it, forming it into weapons, doing anything with it. The difference is it has Odin's blessing, so it's made of Uru, but it has Odin's blessing as well. Really cool little tidbit from Fear Itself line of comics from a few years back. The dwarves of Asgard, in order to fight off whatever the hell they were fighting, and that the Red Skull's daughter becomes something. I can't remember exactly what she becomes, but they're fighting her off, and they need more firepower, so you end up with a whole lot of, the Avengers ending up with Uru-forged weapons. So Iron Man gets a fully Uru-forged Iron Man suit. You get the one I was hoping that they didn't do was like adding Uru to the adamantium for Wolverine. I was hoping to see that just for the hell of it, but that didn't happen. But Ares gets like an Uru war axe and all these different things. But they're the ones who forged the Uru, and then with Odin's blessing, it should have been invulnerable. That's the main difference, because all their weapons would be made of that same metal, but the blessing, enchantment, whatever you want to call it, that Odin puts on Mjolnir is very much different.
Yeah, I'm glad to some extent that they left that out of the mythology of the show. It might have just seemed like it would have, no way it would not have pulled me out quite a bit and made me thought of Lord of the Rings way too much.
It may have added actually some good humor, because even in the comics, the dwarves are always drunken bastards that just curse everybody that comes anywhere near them. But I don't know. Breaking of Mjolnir was kind of, I don't know. That's really against everything that makes Mjolnir Mjolnir.
Well, I guess they just had to. It's a crutch that Thor has used for, well, since he's been in the MCU. So it's just like when you watched the latest Star Trek movie, Star Trek Beyond. Like, the crutch is the Enterprise, so you take away the crutch, and then you have to have them deal with the aftermath. It's the same thing with Thor. His reliance on his hammer, you take the hammer away, and you see what he does.
Oh,
so I was okay with that.
I mean, as far as character progression went with it, I thought it was a good story device, plot device, to have it destroyed. As far as everything else goes, I don't know about destroying Mjolnir. Like, it just, I don't know. It goes against what Mjolnir is. I mean, I even believe there's certain lines from the comics where Mjolnir itself is a god that deems you worthy or not. And it's not even Odin. You know, it's, I don't know. That to me is a stretch.
Yeah.
They could have had him lose it instead of having it broken.
Well, that was the first Thor.
No.
Yeah, that's true.
We saw that movie already.
I don't mean, like, take it away. I mean, Mjolnir itself decides he's not worthy. As opposed to Odin taking it away from him. The hammer decides he's no longer worthy.
Well, doesn't that happen for half of Thor?
Yeah, I think that would play too similar to the first Thor movie.
If they anthropomorphized, if they anthropomorphized the hammer, well, to some degree, because in the first Thor, it is Odin that they're portraying that it is Odin who puts the, if you're worthy hex on it to begin with. Yeah, if they had made Mjolnir seem of more like its own little individual being, sentient being of some kind, then yeah, I could kind of get that. But I will say go ahead.
I was going to say, with Odin dying in the beginning of this, what happens to that? And maybe that's the reason Mjolnir is able to be broken, is because Odin dies, Hela shows up, Mjolnir is no longer as powerful without Odin around.
No, I didn't really think about that.
Maybe it's just an Uru forged hammer at that point without the blessing.
Yeah.
See, I kind of put it together that, like, because when Hela tears down the mural in the top of the throne room, it shows her wielding the hammer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know if maybe because, like, she's had a connection with the hammer before, it gives her some sort of control over the hammer, like Thor. As in just someone else who can handle it, and maybe she's between her power and being able to use it before she's able to crush it. That was sort of where my train of thought went.
Yeah.
Okay.
It made sense in my mind. And whether or not it makes sense to you guys, I don't know, but it made sense to me.
And can we talk about what happened before that, which is probably my favorite use of Mjolnir in the entire series, when he just puts it in the dragon's mouth and the dragon can't move. He's just standing there waiting, like, eh.
Considering he lost the hammer at like the end of Act 1, the hammer got a lot of screen time and did some really cool shit prior to that. So
That's true.
I was happy.
Which, okay, here's more of a really stupid geeky question, but if the hammer is that heavy, when Thor is holding it and somebody is trying to hold Thor, why is it not already that heavy? So he had to put the hammer in the dragon's mouth for it to weigh him down, but the dragon was already holding Thor, who was holding the hammer, so why is it not heavy?
It's not that the hammer's that heavy. It is that it's the enchantment that you literally cannot lift it unless you are worthy.
So
it's
it almost
not the weight of
becomes, so it becomes somewhat weightless in his hands?
If Thor is holding it, it's good to go. So if Thor is holding it and you are holding Thor, you're just basically picking up Thor.
But if Thor hits you with that hammer while he's still holding it, it's still going to hit you with all that force of that power and enchantment.
Right. But
I'm working with Earth physics here.
If Thor isn't holding it, okay?
Yeah.
The enchantment does not allow it to move.
I'm with that.
So if he drops it in that dragon's mouth,
yes,
the dragon cannot move that thing because nobody but Thor can move it.
Right.
Well,
nobody but someone who is worthy can move it.
Right.
It's magic, it's not weight. Think of it in those terms.
I'm trying. I'm still just seeing inconsistencies that honestly really don't matter. It just bugged me.
Yeah, I think you could just explain it away as it's a magical hammer.
It's magic.
It doesn't obey the laws of physics.
It's science. It's a bit of both.
Well, think of it this way. It sits perfectly fine on the glass table in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay? So...
Wait, but that doesn't make sense either.
It doesn't break the glass. Cap almost moves it, and then
right?
Thor
It's like that.
It's literally
It's literally that conversation that Cap and Tony Stark have at the end of Age of Ultron, where they're
put
talking
it in
about
an elevator. Elevator still goes up.
Doesn't mean the elevator's worthy. All right, I'll let that go. The only real thing that bugged me about the movie, it wasn't about this movie. It was about the fact that the imagery that I've been waiting 3 movies to see, which is Thor being the god of thunder and lightning, didn't happen until the 3rd movie, and it was after he had his most iconic look taken away from him. That the shots towards the end, when you see his just lightning-filled eyes, and just lightning all around him, because he's like a conduit for it.
Mm-hmm.
There's not one shot in either of the first 2 movies that is that dead on and that cool looking. And it would have looked way better if you still had him in with his long bleach blonde hair, even most of his armor and cape, just for a little bit. Just lit the frick up like the god of lightning.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that bugged me. I'd say I loved it here. I just wish it wouldn't have taken them so long to get to.
Now I have to say about that moment, and it may be because I play too much Destiny, but were you not thinking at least a little bit about a Stormcaller at that moment?
I didn't then, but I do now.
I seen him start going crazy with lightning going everywhere, and I'm just kind of like... This is kind of like a Stormcaller mixed with a Striker Titan at the same time, and he's just smashing things. And it appeared that way to me, the way the lightning surrounded him when he started to do it.
It was a cool effect. It looked really fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to point out, too, that, marketing-wise, they did a good job, I think, because when Thor lost an eye, that surprised the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And some of those shots that they use in that final third of the film, in the film, he's missing an eye, but in the promos and trailers, he has both eyes. It's the same shot.
Yeah.
It's just, post-production effects and stuff like that. So I thought that was really cool that they still hid that way. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why we haven't seen, I was expecting, or crossing my fingers, that we would get an Avengers Infinity War trailer prior to Thor. But because Thor is missing an eye and now has an eye patch, that's probably why you didn't get a trailer, because that spoils that part of the movie.
Well,
that carries over into Infinity War.
When you see Thor floating in space, is he missing an eye? In the teaser thing that you found in the SC
That's a good point. He was not. But if they can fix that for the trailers, I have no doubt they could fix that for Infinity War.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm assuming probably, I mean, they're shooting the scenes regularly, then either going back and doing reshoots with makeup or just CGI. So they don't necessarily, it's not like they're shooting it like missing one eye and then fixing it by giving him his eye back. They're just not adding the effect of taking the eye away. Right.
Yeah, I think it's all in the computer.
Yeah. And can I also say that at the end of that there, I it's going to sound bad, but he looked a little less Odin-like and a little more space pirate-y to me with the eye patch. It looked cool as shit.
What's wrong with space pirates?
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It looked very cool. He pulled it off. It was fine. It just...
Andy, we said pirate like 3 times. Where you at?
Arg? Arg? Arg.
It just gave me more that impression. You know.
I could see it. Anybody got anything else they want to touch on? I still have my list of stuff I think to roll through.
Jeff Goldblum plays Jeff Goldblum better than anybody.
Did I see somewhere in the commercials that he gave it 10 out of 10 Goldblums?
I did hear that. Yes.
That is awesome. His part, you could tell he was just having so much fun. Like, this might be the only appearance he ever has. He might play a small role here or there, like in some other chapter, but
he needs a one-shot now too.
Yes. Like when I heard, like, oh my god, they're adding both Jeff Goldblum and Cate Blanchett just to Thor, let alone, you know, the MCU in like one movie, and oh my god, he Jeff Goldblumed the hell out of that part. Like, I didn't even care. Like, I'm like, Jeff Goldblum is pretending to be the Grandmaster and just like saying he has these lines and this is what he likes, and okay, he's in charge of this weird planet thing, area, whatever. I holy crap, he chewed the scenery in the best possible ways.
When he like gets behind that turntable and starts playing music, and then like Loki and Thor are whispering, and he just pops up next to them, and they're like, "Ah, what are you doing here?" It kills me.
I thought he was fantastic as always, you know, and as far as new people they added to the movie, I can remember maybe the first or second discussion we had about the trailers and the movie itself. We discussed who Sam Neill was going to be playing in this movie. Meanwhile, it's for a bit part as a play act on a stage in the movie, and I was kind of like confused as to why the hell they would go out and get Sam Neill to play that 2-second part on screen.
See, if we talked about that, I completely forgot about it going into this movie. And then I had to look at Odin in the play really, really good. And I know that should be someone. Who is it? And then it finally dawned on me that it was Sam Neill. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
You're so distracted by Matt Damon that it's hard to look at the other cast of that play.
Oh, yeah.
Well, did you also notice the person playing Thor was the other Hemsworth brother? Not the other Hemsworth brother, but the other Hemsworth brother.
The lesser-known Hemsworth brother.
And my wife pointed that out to me because I didn't. I mean, it was like, okay.
Yeah,
sure.
I didn't know who that was.
I had to look that one up because I figured he had to be somebody, but the face wasn't immediately apparent to me.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's Luke Hemsworth, not Liam Hemsworth.
Correct.
It's the other Hemsworth.
Yes, the other Hemsworth.
And actually, if you look at the credits, one of the young women who ask for Thor for the selfie when they go to Earth, and they're like standing on that city street corner, her last name is Hemsworth too.
Really?
How many Hemsworth are there?
I can't find who she is because in her bio it doesn't say anything about like spouse of this person or sister of that person. But yeah, her last name is Hemsworth too.
That's funny.
So it's either
I guess that's the
coincidence
perks
or
of
relative.
shooting in Australia, right? They shot this in Australia, which is Hemsworth's like hometown, right?
Yeah,
he's from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He was just pulling all kinds of family members in for this one.
Yeah, her name is Taylor Hemsworth, and she is college girl number 2.
Well, She got a
So
part.
what did you guys think of the Matt Damon cameo? Was that too much for you? Did you like that? Did it pull you out?
Not at all.
No, I thought, like, pull out a little bit, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's welcome. At that stage of the movie, it's very welcome.
It was wonderful.
Well, it's Loki's play. Loki is the one putting on the play, so it's just like, who would Loki cast as himself? Matt Damon.
Which... Go ahead.
I was going to say, the thing that came to my mind having watched that is, wasn't Matt Damon in consideration to play Loki to begin with? And wasn't Sam
that's a deep
Neill
cut. I
in
don't know.
consideration to play Odin to begin with?
That I don't know. From what I read, Hemsworth and Damon are actually really good friends, so Hemsworth just called him up and said, hey, you want to do this bit part? And he said, yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Sam Neill is frequently in Taika Waititi's movies, so that was why he got pulled in.
And Hemsworth, just because it's funny that it's Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, like, I knew why Luke Hemsworth was there. That was just like, okay.
And I feel ashamed that I didn't put this together on my own, but I did read later, and it makes absolute sense as well. This is Matt Damon's second time playing Loki.
Yes. Dogma.
He played the fallen angel Loki in Dogma.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Which would have made another really good cameo to have Ben Affleck over there and
Right?
just for the hell of it.
Right?
Loki,
just
what are
somehow,
you doing?
like even like just dressed
They just didn't say, "God
as
bless you."
Bartleby.
Come on.
Yeah, just dressed as Bartleby from Dogma in Asgard.
In
Don't
the
explain
background
it.
somewhere.
Yes.
Just don't have him say anything. Just standing there looking.
Yeah.
I feel like that has to be somewhere in the fine print of a Warner Brothers contract that while you are currently contracted in a DC movie, you cannot appear in a Marvel movie.
I'm sure.
So as funny as that would be, I'm sure it's just legally not possible.
Probably not, but I'm waiting for someone to Photoshop him in. So, like, when the camera turns back toward Odin, well, like Loki impersonating Odin, and he has like his entourage and servants around him on that bench on that chase lounge, that just somehow someone's gonna insert Ben Affleck as some version of a character he's played, like I said, maybe Bartleby from Dogma, and he's just chilling there.
And honestly, I think if he went to a DC, the Warner Brothers executive and was like, "Hey, listen, this is why we want to do this. It's just this stupid cameo thing for this joke that they want to tell in the movie." I'm like, nope, that joke's going to make the movie.
They still would have said no.
We can't have a joke that good in their movie.
Yeah.
We can't allow that.
There's no way they would have allowed that.
But yeah, that would have been hilarious.
All right, so I got a couple things I want to try to get to before because I don't know how much time we got left.
Shoot.
So spinning off of the Loki discussion, how do you guys feel about him basically being turned into an anti-hero now? Are you okay with that, or you still want him to be the bad guy?
Was he an anti-hero, though?
They keep playing him up like he's got some good in him, and he's helping everybody out by the end.
You're getting
I think
fooled
he's
by
still
Loki just like Thor does.
So you're still thinking he's just going to betray everybody? He's just there for his own means?
I think he plays the good part just so he can get back to doing what he has to do. The only time he went full-on same side as Thor is when they killed Frigga. He was raving pissed they killed my mom. And then he was back to being Loki immediately after that. He's like, but I'm still going to take Asgard over. It was like as soon as the people that did him wrong were gone, all right, Asgard's mine.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's gonna look out for number one, and he has the ability to do it with evilness in his mind. And I don't think he's ever going to be the anti-hero. I think.
See, that's what I'm hoping. I keep getting the impression that because Loki is a popular character and women like him, that they're going to spin him to somehow be a redeemable hero by the end of all this.
By the very end, I don't know. Someone at work today, we were talking about the movie, they pointed out to me, isn't it amazing how easily the Marvel Universe forgives characters who commit mass genocide?
Yeah.
And I guess not just the MCU, but like not only him, but you look at like X-Men Apocalypse, Magneto killed like thousands of people all over the globe, and at the last shot of the movie, he's in like a turtleneck and Dockers, like at Xavier's skull, like, well, I guess these kids got a handle on it now. I'll be seeing you, Charles. Like, he should probably have been killed 17 times for what he's done. Same thing with Loki. Like, he killed a lot of people, hundreds, thousands of people on Earth during that invasion.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, a lot of Asgardians were killed in Dark World. But he just kind of seems to be allowed to skate over. Like, really, I mean, Thor pretty much should remove his head from his body.
Well, and that's part of the thing with Loki is if they were actually going to try to execute him, they probably couldn't. He could probably just make it look like you executed him, and he's God knows where.
Maybe.
I mean, he's pulled
so any
that
death
trick
that Loki
how
goes through,
many
they could retcon it if they wanted to.
Yep.
I don't know. I was happy with the use of his character. I think especially after the Dark World, this was like back to really good Loki, like we saw in Avengers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about Kate Blanchett?
Yes. What do you want to talk about? Start us off. You brought it up.
Well, you know how we always have this conversation about rather meaningless MCU villains, like one-shotters and stuff like that. I don't know where you guys thought she ranked, or her character.
Definitely better. As far as Thor villains, I mean, she's behind Loki. If you compare between, the three Thor movies, Malekith's still the most pointless Marvel villain ever, not just in a Thor movie. But yeah, I definitely think Hela's up there.
They kind of fleshed her out a lot better than they did a lot of the other MCU villains, in my opinion.
And they established her very quickly as being a badass.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps too.
Well, yeah, like within, 10 seconds of seeing her on screen, she destroys Mjolnir, so you're like, holy fuck.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that already set the stage for her. But yeah, I think she did a really good job. I think they did flesh her out well enough that I think she's top tier, one of the Marvel villains for me.
I also wouldn't hold your breath on her coming back.
That was going to be one of my other questions, if we think she's actually gone.
It being Hela and who she is, I'm not sure that Surtur could actually kill her.
Plus, I don't think we see her body be disintegrated or anything like that.
No,
I feel like
just
she just
see the
kind
sword.
of falls.
Yeah, you just see the sword impale her, supposedly, and that would drive her back down to basically where she was before, which is hell.
Yeah.
Which she was reigning over while she was there, waiting for Odin to die. So, yeah, I wouldn't put it past them to have her back at some point. Perhaps even in a significant role, if they were to choose it.
Yeah, that was sort of my big theory of this whole thing. I thought they'd established that better, and Mike, if I'm thinking the same thing you are, that Thanos is trying to impress Marvel's version of death, which in the Marvel universe is a female character. Hela continually says she is the goddess of death.
Yeah.
To me, that's a logical connection, and I think it would help Infinity War if that's part of Thanos' motivation. When you get to Infinity War, instead of introducing just a new character that's supposed to be the embodiment of death, and you're like, who the fuck is this? If Hela shows up and he's bowing to her and trying to woo her, now you have this connection to that character that you've already seen her in a movie before, and I think that would lend a lot more to the story and Thanos' motivations. But nothing in this movie, to me, I feel like hints at that.
No, I don't feel like they hinted her in that way.
Thought that it could have been a hint when she's called the Gauntlet fake, that she did have dealings with Thanos before, because she knew that Thanos had the...
that's a good call.
Yeah.
Had the actual Gauntlet.
Yeah. Okay, I could see that.
Not to mention how much Kate Blanchett could help Infinity War just by being Kate Blanchett.
Yeah.
Oh man, I thought she kicked the shit out of that movie, that role.
One thing, part of her entrance, I think, that still bugs me, when she comes up the Bifrost and finally gets to Asgard, and how she takes out the Warriors 3 without so much as a wink. Those characters, I felt like, deserved so much more than what they got there. I think Zach Levi's Fandral doesn't even say a line of dialogue. He yells at her and runs, and then he's out.
Does he? I don't even remember that, to be honest. It happens so quickly, and yeah, she's there for 2 seconds, and then there's like 6 knives in both of them, and then they're dead. At least they gave the other guy, like, at least some fight scene to have. Why could they have just done that with all 3 of them? She ultimately...
That's what I was thinking.
She ultimately prevails,
had...
but they all, at least the 3 of them, if they were going to be there, at least get to go down that way.
Like, how much screen time would it have given the movie? An extra 5 minutes if you just choreograph a fight scene with all of them taking her out. And if they get some sort of extended fight sequence trying to defeat her and then ultimately failing, that just makes her look like more of a badass than just surprising everyone and killing them.
Yes.
Right.
So
Fandral and Volstagg could have just been any Asgardian just sitting there in the Bifrost getting stabbed, and then she moves on to fight Hodor with the 2 of them in an army of Asgardians behind her. Like, that could have been a badass fucking fight sequence.
Yep.
So where
Not to mention, Lady Sif is gone,
Yeah.
and no one fucking mentions her at
Yeah,
all.
that's
I was going to
exactly
ask
what I
where
was
Lady
gonna
Sif was.
Like, they're just ignoring that altogether. They couldn't get Jamie Alexander back for the movie, so they're just like, just ignore it.
I mean, the only good thing about that is if they want to bring Sif back, they can, because she's never in this movie.
yeah, it's not
So
mentioned
we have to assume
what's
she
going
lives
on.
somewhere.
And she's had dealings with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on Earth before.
Mm-hmm.
Correct, yes.
So, I mean, she could have been on Earth doing some Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. type thing.
Yeah.
I also think they didn't want the conflicting love interests in this for Thor, the way they had in previous films.
Well, there is no love interest in this movie for Thor.
You didn't get the spark between him and Valkyrie?
Small, but like it wasn't leaned into as much as they did on other movies.
No.
Between Thor and Sif and stuff like that.
And then that's why I think Sif isn't there, is because if she was there, they would have had to have done that. That would have to be a story, a part of the arc, in some way, shape, or form, explaining something, at least, as to why they are together, aren't together, what's going on with that, because they couldn't just ignore it. They couldn't start that arc and play it through 2 movies with him and Jane and Sif, and then just be like, not mention it in this movie.
Yeah.
So maybe that was just more a matter of convenience than anything else.
Could be.
Yeah, they don't know what to do with her, so they just cut her out.
Or they just couldn't get her back. They were,
I mean, she isn't a full-time television show, so her availability might be limited, too.
right. Which could be the very reason they don't say anything about it, so that when she's not, it's as simple as bringing the character back in when they feel the need.
Right.
I read something interesting about Valkyrie, actually, that she actually is bisexual.
Yay.
Okay.
Room for everybody.
Sure.
I guess there's theories that the woman that throws herself in front of Valkyrie while they're fighting the goddess of death was her lover.
Well, can
Which
we...
is why,
okay.
which is why she goes on this alcoholic binge and whatnot.
Could
Okay, I could buy it.
Well, I think that character, too, is supposed to be actually the model of Valkyrie
Yeah.
that she looks like in the comics, too, was the blonde-haired one.
Well, and I was going to say we should also address that this girl, the girl in this movie is not the Valkyrie. She is a Valkyrie.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm drawing that just because she's not shown in what she's telling Thor about or anything like that is leading them into battle. Because the Valkyrie led the Valkyries into battle, which is why they were called the Valkyries. She's shown, kind of off to the side as part of the battle, not as the warrior herself, but as one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that what we've seen in that character is the Valkyrie, but I do think what you're saying is they showed a model of sorts of what the Valkyrie is supposed to look like
Right.
in that scene, and so perhaps the Valkyrie is dead, and the Valkyries themselves are dead, but for her, and she's the last existing one.
So does she have a name other than they call her Valkyrie? And
I don't even think he specifically calls her Valkyrie in this
Scrapper
movie.
239, or what the fuck did they call her?
Yeah.
You're my favorite killer. What?
talking about the Valkyrie, it just reminded me of something that I felt like I was waiting for a payoff for that never happened. So later in the movie, when Hulk becomes Bruce Banner, and Banner and Valkyrie keep crossing paths, and they keep looking at each other like, I know you, and they're sort of like playfully, almost like flirting, I feel like. Prior to that, you're seeing Valkyrie, again, sort of have that same attitude with Hulk. I started putting pieces together thinking like Valkyrie and Hulk like got it on. And then when Banner changed, that was why they sort of knew each other, because like they hooked up. And I was waiting for the revelation of like, oh, you're the big green monster I had sex with, but it never came.
I'm not, granted she's Asgardian, but I'm not sure I want to consider the mechanics of that.
Yeah, the way that works, I didn't know, but I just figured it might be a joke that would pay off later. I just felt like they were setting the stage for that, and it never happened.
Gotcha. I thought it was just more that she could sense there's something familiar about Banner, and he obviously has like distant back of the mind memories of her, from being the Hulk, but she didn't put the two together till the end. Oh, springboarding into that, how awesome was that moment where he jumps out of the plane and just splatters on the Rainbow Bridge?
Oh. Like a crash test dummy.
I love that.
Yeah. He's like, the Hulk will save me before I land. Nope.
Now, it looked like, to me, Banner was just fucking dead.
Yeah.
Like, his eyes almost look like they're rolled back into the back of his head. His neck looks like it's bent in a really awkward direction. Which sort of springs off this. So, Banner sets the stage earlier in the movie. If I change again, I might not change back. Do we think Banner is stuck as the Hulk?
I think they're going to use that, yeah.
So, it'll be...
It could. I think Mark Ruffalo is too good at this job that, honestly, I don't want to see him as the Hulk the whole time, and not for the like existential struggle of him not wanting to be the Hulk. I just think he is fun to watch on screen, and he's fun to watch as Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you a for instance on how that could play out if they gave Hulk a solo movie, like a Planet Hulk or World War Hulk movie.
Okay.
In that, in several comics, you'll actually see Banner in his own mind. You'll get like mental images within the Hulk where he's battling it out with Banner for control. So you could still get plenty of screen time for Mark Ruffalo and have Hulk still stuck as Hulk.
Okay. Just as a viewer, I don't know if I would enjoy that as much as watching him, in the world that everyone else is and interacting with those characters. But as a way of getting him in there, yeah, I could see that.
So I don't think we're ever going to get a Hulk solo movie, at least not anytime soon, because I think the rights are still tied up with Universal in some way.
Yeah.
So they're somehow allowed to put him in ensemble movies, but solo Hulk movies can't be made.
Yeah, which is a damn shame, because I would really enjoy that. And, it'll really upset me. I mean, it won't upset me if this 20th Century Fox thing happens.
Yeah.
But it'll upset me at least a little that Old Man Logan in the movie for that happens just before this, when we could have had the Hulk properly in there as a villain. Like, right then, and then they merge and allow it to happen, and then, god damn it, we could have had the Hulk. We could have had the Wolverine cutting himself outside of Hulk after Hulk eats him. Like, it could have happened.
Yeah, I'm sure if that deal goes down, I'm sure all the X-Men are recast, so you'll be getting all new versions of everybody if that ever happens. Wishful thinking, we'll see.
The last individual piece that I think of that hasn't been brought up yet, I enjoyed the heck out of Karl Urban as Scourge.
Karl Urban's a good actor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He really is. I never really noticed that before, but he is. Like, Quietly Under the Radar has become one of my favorites.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, that moment, that first introduction, you get to him, and he's talking to, like, the obvious kind of, like, floozy airhead Asgardian ladies. And he's trying to be, Mr. Macho and impress them. Just that,
with the shake weight.
oh my god, like that.
Yeah.
Even before that moment where he's talking himself up, and then he just ends with, "Behold, my stuff."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pile of junk.
Pile of junk with a freaking scooter there. Oh my god, I died.
Yeah, there's like a moped or something
Yeah,
sitting there.
yeah. I loved it. Like, well, ladies, of all the things I could tell you, look, stuff.
And that moment when the dragon's head gets cut off and just slides slowly through the floor, that was great too.
Or when Thor uses the hammer to just fly right across the Bifrost, and Scourge is like, "Oh, damn it," and he just starts like running along.
You had one job.
Yes.
And he redeems himself at the end too.
Which I wasn't sure if they'd go that route, because I always thought Scourge in the comics was just an evil dude. But I liked the kind of twist that they gave him in the movie.
I'm sad that he's... Honestly, I am. I'm kind of sad that he's a one and done. I would have enjoyed seeing him more.
Yeah.
I agree. Can we also talk about Gorilla Heimdall? I mean, that was kind of awesome. Where,
Yeah.
he's leading like a little insurgency there in a lot of ways.
He must have had enough pamphlets.
Yeah, exactly. I just thought it was an interesting take.
Yeah.
And I was kind of confused as to why Heimdall would grow braids, but just because like you're always assuming he's bald before because the helmet, and when he takes it off, I believe, I can't remember whether or not he actually had hair in the previous ones.
I think
I'm pretty sure he was bald.
I think the only time you see him without the helmet is in Age of Ultron.
In the dream.
In the dream, and I think it's just like his typical like Idris Elba kind of short cropped black hair.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah,
But I mean, if you think about it, most Asgardians have medium to long styled hair.
yeah. It just, I don't know, didn't look like that hairstyle would fit under his usual helmet.
Well, he just felt so free not wearing the helmet. He's like, I'm growing it out.
Yeah, maybe he didn't.
Let's do it.
Since he wasn't the Watcher anymore, maybe he didn't think he needed it.
One character I think we've talked about briefly, but didn't really talk about how she did as the character, is Valkyrie.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think of Tessa Thompson?
Oh, I thought she was badass.
Yeah.
Especially her intro when she fell off the gangway.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had some pretty good comedic timing, too.
She did, yeah.
Yeah, they all kind of worked well together. The three of them with Hulk and...
Oh, yeah, that awesome superhero group, the Revengers.
Yeah. It worked well. And I didn't feel like she missed any beats anywhere at all.
Yeah.
So
I think she
It
did.
was actually, I thought it was neat to sort of get her story as the plot moved along.
Yeah.
You get to know her a little bit as the movie keeps going, and then it was really cool when Loki sort of stole her memories, and you got to see the final battle with the Goddess of Death.
Yeah.
Thought that was very cool.
mm-hmm.
I liked that she had the mixture of a vulnerable person and a warrior.
Mhm.
And I mean, she had an arc. She wasn't, in my opinion, she was not one dimensional.
Yeah.
No,
Would it
not
be
at all.
safe to say that we will see her in Infinity Wars?
I believe she is definitely on the cast list, at least on
Cool.
IMDb.
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess it depends
Cool,
the
cool.
outcome of all those people on the ship
Yeah.
whenever they presumably get attacked.
Yeah, that's...
Because we'll see who gets scattered where and who I guess, doesn't bite it there.
Yeah, that's why I'm questionable. Other than that, I would say you'll see her. I don't think she'll play a major part. I think she'll be, outshined in that movie because you're going to have, Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, all that. I don't think you're going to see much of her, but I think she'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's still in the rumored status for Infinity War on IMDb, at least.
Okay.
Speaking of other people that she might run into in Infinity War, Doctor Strange.
Oh, that was some of the funniest shit in this movie.
I think that part with Loki had one of the biggest laugh out loud moments, I think, in the theaters that I'd seen this movie in, where he, like, Doctor Strange brings him back and he just says, "I've been falling for 30 minutes."
Yeah. Or Loki tries to come at Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange just kind of shrugs him off like, yeah, bye.
That's a showdown I want to see happen again.
Yeah. Because you didn't even get, like, an inclination that Loki didn't know what he was dealing with. So he didn't even have a moment to be like, oh, I will parlay him with my trickery as well.
Right.
And I did like that whole time with Doctor Strange when Thor's holding the umbrella and you can hear the sound effects of Mjolnir.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really well done.
I was...
Yeah,
to some degree,
sorcerers...
Sorry, go ahead.
The sorcerers in Asgard must be much worse than Doctor Strange. Because they're both like, oh, it's a sorcerer. And then he's doing all this cool stuff, and they're both like, what the fuck?
And not to mention, how much do you want that refilling beer ability? I mean,
oh my god, please.
It's just like, you
right
drink
now,
it down,
please.
you set it down, and it refills before you finish the glass. Oh my god.
I'm just
Maybe
going to say that appeared in Harry Potter first. It wasn't in the movie, but it was definitely in the 6th book.
Yeah.
Oh, what, you're going to say that, like, with some reservation? Like, well, maybe.
I feel like it
wiggle
was
room
not
are you
a
going to find
big,
there?
giant mug that, like, refilled as you're chugging it. I feel like in the Harry Potter, it was empty and then it refilled.
Yeah, but that's what Thor did. It didn't infinitely stay full no matter how much he drank. He emptied it and then it refilled.
Okay.
That's exactly what happened.
If you're curious, you can always watch that scene again on the end credit scene of Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's literally the same scene. It's just extended a little bit in the movie,
Yeah.
but it's the same cut thing that you see at the end of Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Were you guys... was Doctor Strange used about to the degree that you thought he would be, or more or less?
Same degree. I expected that in the third act and not in the first act.
Okay. So I think I expected it, well, because I didn't really know, obviously, yeah, like that tag scene from Doctor Strange, they already give you the context that he's talking to Thor about finding Loki in relation to Odin. So
Right. I thought all that was going to be dragged out into the third act. Like, the more of the Thor traveling around and all that stuff was going to be the first 2/3 to... I saw that in my mind as being a bookend to the movie.
Okay.
Is them coming back to Earth and finding Odin, and somehow Loki got loose and all that stuff. I thought there's going to be more of a build up to that.
Yeah, I don't think I perceived, like, even from some of the previews, but I don't think I perceived Loki as playing such a central role as he ultimately did, which I'm happy with. I enjoyed it. But yeah, I think, same. I thought Doctor Strange would, I don't want to say it felt somewhat shoehorned in, because it was really, in a lot of ways, it was kind of inconsequential. Like, yes, I know where Odin is, let me open this gateway to this other point on the planet we're already on to get you to him quicker. But ultimately, it's the only time so far that I really think it, like, really felt like a true cameo of any of these characters.
Yeah.
Where it didn't exactly need to happen, and it really felt like, oh look, a character popped up and a thing happened.
Yeah, I think it was just like, we need to get from point A to point B. How can we quickly move this along? Oh, let's just throw in Doctor Strange there.
Yeah, I said it was fun. I'm not mad. It was a little less organic than the others have seemed.
Yeah. One other thing I want to bring up: should we be worried about Surtur just hanging out now, fully back? Is that going to be a Thor 4 villain if we make it that far? Because they let him loose. I feel like he can't be just left to roam the galaxy.
I have a few thoughts about Thor 4. The first thought that comes to mind, with all the Asgardians loaded onto one ship and stuck there, is Siege. If you remember the Marvel comic universe event, it was like a 5 or 6 issue event called
I remember
Siege.
the name. I didn't know what it was.
Basically, the story of it's not that important. Because the story mainly revolves around Norman Osborn as the Iron Patriot. But one of the major plot devices of the story is that the Asgardians have made a new Asgard in Oklahoma.
Yeah, all right. Well, that works.
So they've rebuilt Asgard in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, and claimed it as their own. And Earth has granted them permission to do so. You know, I mean, it's not without permission or anything. They, come to Earth and they get permission, and they build a new Asgard. And it's kind of like they were playing on kind of like the illegal immigrant, like, discussion at the time where, you're in the middle of Oklahoma and here's all these rednecks, for a better word, throwing out there that they're very upset about all these illegal aliens being there, which the Asgardians actually are aliens. So I think that's an interesting point, given that they, all these remaining Asgardians are all located in the same place.
Yeah. Well, they play that up like the thing they keep repeating is Asgard's a people, not a place, and they set a course for Earth. So you're led to believe that if they want to rebuild Asgard, that could be the place they go. Right,
and that's what got me thinking along those lines, which would be an interesting set. As far as Surtur goes, I honestly think you may see a resolution to that in Infinity War, where Surtur, feeling big and badass for having destroyed Asgard, which was his primary purpose as a being, decides that he wants the power, some way, somehow decides to challenge Thanos and gets bitch slapped into oblivion.
Well, after he's fulfilled his duty of destroying Asgard, does he just go back to sleep, or does he hang out?
Well, where's he going?
I don't know, somewhere else. I don't know the intricacies of how he works or what he has to do.
He lives in the fire realm, doesn't he?
I was under the impression that was hell.
No, I think it's a different realm.
Okay, just a different realm?
Yeah, because there's the frost giant realm, there's the fire realm, there's the underworld realm, or hell, or whatever you want to call it. I can't remember all the realms. But I think they explain that stuff in Thor 1, don't they?
Yeah, they don't name them all for you, though.
Yeah,
they don't name Niflheim or Jotun. I want to say Jotunheim was named. Niflheim gets named in the second one for the Dark Elves. And obviously Asgard and Midgard get named. And the others, they don't really bring to light what they're called because they don't have to deal with them ever in the movies.
I just didn't know what happens with Surtur. He's fulfilled his job. The prophecy says destroy Asgard. He has done his job. Then what happens? When a prophecy gets filled, does that just, I don't know, does he just take a nap?
Well, I don't know what he's going to do now. I couldn't say, but my guess, honestly, I think, here's the thing. In Infinity Gauntlet, they can end any storylines they wish to very easily by ignoring one of the plot devices that happens in the comics. But in the comic, Thanos uses the gauntlet to kill off half the population of every being in the entire universe.
Right.
So, not billions, but trillions and trillions and trillions of beings die in an instant. And nothing says that Surtur couldn't be one of them. He just, with a thought, unmakes them,
Yeah. Okay.
The plot device in the comics, of course, is that they then get remade when the gauntlet's taken away from Thanos. The person who takes it says, nope, bring all them back. So
I guess that's a loose plot thread, and we'll just see if they wrap up Surtur somewhere at some point.
Yeah, I would expect that it'll show back up at some point if we get a Thor 4.
Yeah, that'll be the bigger question. We'll have to revisit that after Avengers.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to get ready to wrap up. I got two quick things. One, everybody go around and what's your favorite moment or line from the movie? For me, I think it's anything that Korg did or said.
It's just about, yeah, I don't know if I could hit a specific moment for him. That was out of everything that occurred, I think that was the surprise that I didn't know was coming at all. It was the best surprise of the whole movie.
Like, I had heard, like, just pre-screenings and stuff, everyone was talking about Korg and, like, Taika Waititi's, like, version of him and everything that he did motion capture and voice-wise for Korg, and that he was going to be the one people were talking about. And I was like, okay, that's fine, whatever. And nope, I completely agree. All his scenes are what I keep replaying in my head above everything else.
If I had to pick out something specific aside from all of him, I think it would be the moment that Jeff Goldblum has a line that says, on another world, I'd be millions of years old. But what planet are they on? Sakaar. And he goes, I'd be millions of years old. But on Sakaar... And he just stops talking.
Yeah, and he just gives them that look.
Yeah. That gets me every time, because you're waiting for that. And even, like, the audiences you see it with, like, no one reacts to that until they switch to someone else, because it hangs on him for so long.
Yep.
You're waiting for him to finish that thought, and it just doesn't come.
It's awesome.
Oh, my favorite moment was probably when Hulk takes Thor and just kind of does the ragdoll thing with him, and Loki like screams like, "Yes, that's how it feels."
That was good.
Even Loki's reaction to just seeing the Hulk for the first time and just like, I have to get off this planet.
Yeah, like, oh shit, that's the champion.
Which I will say, I think that paid off very well, because it legitimately established that, like, of all the people that he's had to deal with, Loki legitimately fears Bruce Banner as the Hulk.
Yes. Mike, favorite moment or line from the movie?
Just because we haven't mentioned it, and there's so many things that would be really difficult to nail down one favorite, I'm just going to say Naked Hulk. Hulk gets out of the bath completely bare-assed, and, as a man, you can see that Thor is intimidated when he's looking at the front of Hulk. He's very intimidated, and then just Hulk kind of walks up behind him bare-assed and soaking wet. And it's just, it was an unexpected moment that they were going to bring bare-assed Hulk into this movie. So,
even Thor's reaction to, well, that's in my brain now.
Yeah,
like,
can't unsee that.
I'd say a very close second to me when Thor took the bowling ball and threw it at the window.
Yeah,
it just came back right in the fucking head.
And then he pops up like he's ready to punch someone, like he's ready to box.
All right, we're going.
Yeah, they had some pretty good physical comedy, I think, in that too. That was another scene that stood out to me too. All right, and just in wrapping this up, if we usually go around and give like a rating out of 10, where do you guys feel this one falls for you?
On just pure joy and enjoyability, like just like the Guardians movies, this movie is so damn watchable that I'm gonna go 8.5.
Okay.
And I'm typically pretty tough. It's kind of high for me.
all right.
Mike, Andy?
I'd go 8. 8 out of 10 there. I agree with Josh, just entirely watchable. I'd go even higher, but if I'm being reasonable, we're not talking about great drama or emotional cinema in here in any way. I could watch the movie endlessly, but I don't feel the need to go higher than 8.
Okay. Andy?
I'd go 9.
Want to just elaborate a little bit more?
No. No, I felt that it did have an emotional, dramatic undertone to it. You don't really notice it watching it the first time, but the more I thought about it and the more I dwelled on what I'd just seen a couple days later even, it's like, wow, that was actually a pretty intricate storytelling model.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm more in line with Andy. I think I'm going to go 9 as well. It's, as Mike said, I think it's infinitely watchable. It's really fun. The Marvel movies always, I don't know, just have this sense of fun to them that I just want to rewatch them all the time. And the movies that stick with me after I see them, it's obviously getting a point up for me. So I saw it twice, and I would go back and see it again. So for me, it's got to be up there. I'm thinking 9. Right, so I think that's it for us. We're going to wind it down. If you've enjoyed the show, please stop by iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Be sure to share, subscribe, favorite the show, wherever you listen to us at. You can always find us on Facebook, search Bry Guy and his Super Friends, or go to facebook.com/BryGuySuperFriends. You can also email us at bryguysuperfriends@gmail.com or tweet us at BGSuperFriends on Twitter. Topic suggestions, questions, comments, any of that stuff, you can hit us up at any one of those avenues. And on behalf of Andy, Josh, Mike, and myself, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Say y'all.